So these are topics for today basically. So we're going to look at Hadoop installation. So let's get started. All right, so now let's get back to our virtualization environment. So this is how we are going to basically do the Hadoop installation. So everybody would also basically need to have the software VirtualBox, or you can have VMware from Windows. So what you would do is you have to basically, we are going to create one virtual machine for each of the daemon that we run in the system. So what you do is you basically click on new, and then you can basically create a virtual machine. So for example, I'm trying to create a machine. I'll say lab 1, and you give the type of um, um, OS that you want. So because VirtualBox lets you, it's a virtualization environment, so you can basically install any kind of OS. So since Hadoop runs on Linux, so we are going to go with Linux. And then you can have different flavors of Linux. You can have Ubuntu, you can have basically Red Hat, you can have Linux, you can have CentOS. So we are going to go, I'm going to do it with CentOS. So for CentOS, you select basically other Linux and 64-bit. Then you click on continue. It tells you how much memory you want, so you can go with any basically value based on the size of your laptop or your uh, machine. So I have a 16 gig basically RAM, so I can make it 512, or I can make it 1 MB. So you can just increase the number, or you can move this bar left to right. So I'll, for time being, I'll let it stay 512 MB. And then I continue, and then it tells that it is going to create a virtual hard drive. So you can either say no or yes. So basically just keep on creating this, and then it asks you what type of drive you want. So you can see these different options. So usually it's recommended to use VMDK, because VMDK is interoperable between the which basically VMware player and this. So basically if you go to, for example, you want to move this VM image to a Windows machine, if you have VMDK, it would work, but if you use basic VDI, it won't work. So usually it's advisable to use VMDK. And then it's saying the hard drive, you want to make it fixed size or dynamically. So usually it's good to leave it dynamically, because it will just then shrink or basically increase based on the space when it's needed. And then you can give the name of the hard drive, and then you can say what would the maximum size of the hard drive. So it is saying 8 right now, and then you just click create. So you can see that now it has created a new virtual machine for me, which is called lab 1. And since I have not done anything, it was a very quick machine, and so it just created it. So now I can go here and look at the settings. So it will have all the settings that I basically initially created. So you can say that I specified a Linux machine, and I said the Linux is CentOS. And then on the system side, it tells you how much memory you have allocated to it. On the storage side, it tells you how much storage you have. You have said maximum 8 GB. And then on the network side, you can basically tell what kind of network adapter it will have. So you have the options of NAT, bridge adapter, and then you have host only adapter. So NAT means that when you have a VM on NAT, basically you cannot talk to internet, because it will be behind a firewall, and it will basically assign a NAT IP to it. And then bridged means that it can basically talk to internet and can talk to your laptop also. And host only means it can only talk to your laptop, it cannot talk to internet again. So mostly it's good to make it bridged, so that you can basically get files from your laptop to your virtual machine. So we'll make it bridged. And then we go under storage. So here we can see that the controller, so you have to basically tell what image you are going to use to for making this VM. So if you are making a CentOS, so basically you go to CentOS website and download the image. So I download a minimal image, and there's a DVD image also. So I'll say that, okay, please install this CentOS server on this. So basically I'm now just specifying the parameters that I need for this virtual machine. And once I do this, now I can basically go here, and so I'll say press OK. and then I can start this virtual machine. So when I start this machine, now this is a new machine. It will start installing the CentOS because I just gave my image as CentOS. So you can click on enter and it will start the installation. So you can see that is going to just now start the OS and uh, basically install the file system and then try to make the host name, and it'll ask you certain questions. Just continue on those questions. Say to begin testing, you can say skip or just starts installation. So I'll say skip, and so it will start installation. So say welcome to CentOS. It will tell me what language do I want. So I select English, and keyboard selection I say US. So I'll just go by default, and it's saying that it asking me to reinitialize everything. So I'll just press my arrow key and go to reinitialize, click enter, and time zone I'll stay leave it as it is. Press OK, tab to move to OK button, and then press enter. And then it's asking me passwords. So I'll enter a password for this machine. So make sure you remember this password. Click OK. And then it is asking that it's going to replace everything existing on this machine because it is a new VM. So I can just say yes. So I'll just press tab and go to OK button. And then it is saying that it's going to write this changes to disk. So I again say enter on this, and now you can see it is started creating the file system and starts basically installing the OS. So this is how basically you will start do a OS installation. So this process is going to take some time. So what we did was I did these steps, and now I already have a basic CentOS virtual machine up. All right, so now basically we have our basic VM up, and now we'll do few things. So what first of all what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have a host name and we have it configured. So what I can do is on this machine I can do like host name and give a host name to it. For example, I can say lab1.cluster1.com, and then when I run hostname command, it will have that name. But if I go out and come back again, this hostname won't be saved. So this hostname is just for this particular session. So to save this, what we do is we go to etc sysconfig and under network. So, so when you open this file, basically you write your host name here. So I'll say my name as lab1.cluster1.com. So now when this machine reboots, it will still have this host name. So that's the first thing that you should do to save the persistent host name. And once you do that, then it's good to modify your etc host file. And basically you, instead of localhost, you basically just say the name that you have for this host, and then we'll also see how to assign an IP. So let's first assign the IP to this machine. So on Unix, basically you run if config -a, it tells you whether you have any IP or not. So right now we haven't configured any interface for this. So right now it's just a loopback, which is 127.0.0.1. So what I'll do is I'll now assign an IP for this. So for that, what you have to do is you have to go to etc sysconfig, and then you have network scripts. So you go under network scripts, sorry, network scripts, and then here you'll have like all the scripts for interface. So let's go with our basic interface, which is eth0, and there we'll say that on boot we'll make it yes, that whatever IP is assigned to this machine, what we are saying is on boot just use, basically store that IP, and it so that it won't change that IP. So once we do this, now we will basically just do a reboot of this machine. So what I'll do is if I cross, it will tell me whether I want to save the machine state, I want to power it off. So I'll say power off, and then I will just start it again. So it is booting up. So it's us, sorry, it's asking me the username. So I'll say root and the password that I entered for this machine. And now when I do if config dash a, it has assigned an IP. So you can see that under ETH0, the INET address is 10.0.0.23. So that's the IP that has been assigned to the machine. So now we have an IP for this machine, and now we have a host name. So what we will do is now go under etsy host file and update this IP. Let's say 10.0.0.23, and we'll give the name host name, which is cluster1.com. So that means if some any other node, for example, this is a data node and name node refers to basically this name node, this data node, then this data node's etsy host will basically be able to resolve it. So that's why we need to add the IP here. So you save it. So this is one way, plus most in production people do like a DNS. You have a name server and you basically do the resolution from there. So that's also something that you guys can try in your setup. So this way basically now we have a machine where we have a host name, and when we have a IP assigned to it. So now we can actually go and start the installation. So basically this is my similar machine. And now because I set it up as a bridge adapter, so now as you can see, that typing in this shell is really difficult. So what I do is once I have an IP assigned, for example, in this case, I had 10.0.0.23. So now I can go to my terminal, and what I can say is basically open a new tab and say SSH. Let me basically increase the font so that everybody can see. So now I can say SSH root at 10.0.0.23, and now I have like my terminal, which is much easier to type, and it's a better interface than this guy. So now I can just do it everything here. So this is basically the this is how why you will do it, because we set a bridge adapter. That means this VM can now talk to my host. So when in my host machine from my Mac terminal I open a terminal, I can just give the IP of my VM and just log in, and then it would take me to the VM. So now I have entered in my VM. So that's how basically you can go from your host system. So Mohammed is saying, I can do this in bare metal Linux also. Yes, you can do it. So as you don't have a Windows box, yes. So like my Mac, so I'm also using Mac, right? So I don't have Windows, so I'm doing it on Mac, and I'm just getting a Linux. Uh, so, Mohammed, if your question is that you have a Linux OS already set up and you just want to use that on directly on a Linux machine, yes, you can do it. Basically, what we have done at this point is just set up a Linux machine on our laptops. So in Windows, we'll use something like a VMware and do the same things, or a VirtualBox. VirtualBox comes both for Mac as well as Windows, so that's why we are going with VirtualBox. So at this point of time, we have set up a Linux machine, which is basically now our machine to install Hadoop. So now we will start with the installation of Hadoop. So now I'll go to my this name node, and so this was basically just to show you how to set it up. And now I'm going to go to a machine that I've already set up so that we don't spend time in doing this. So I will again go to my NN1, see where it is, and so you can see it's like really difficult to see anything here or type anything. So that's why your Linux terminal is basically much easier to work with. So that's why I set a bridge adapter so that I can just type everything easily here. So I'll again go to my machine 10.0.0.13, type the password, and this machine I have named NN1. So same way that I just showed you how to name and have the machine's host name. So I have the host name is this, and I have the IP defined in etsy host. So right now you can just look at this one. We'll discuss about these later on. So right now I have one machine where I have set up my IP, and I have configured my file etsy sysconfig sysconfig network scripts. My So basically, as you can see that I'm typing something, and if I don't find a file, it gives me a list, right? So if I'm typing something and I press tab button, it will tell me all the files that start with I. So after pressing I press a tab and I see all the files available because I don't remember the name of the file. So then I can look at the list and I need this first one. So I'll say ifcfg dash eth0. So that's like a autocomplete feature that now when I press tab, Unix will with this or shell will automatically find the file with this name and give and autocomplete it. So this is what we did, right? So on boot, we said yes, that whenever this machine gets rebooted, we are saying that use basically get the same IP from DSCP for this machine so that when we don't have to redo these steps of changing our IPs are in our ITSC host file. So now this IP 10.0.0 basically 10.0.0.13 is set up for this machine, and I made this the host name nn1, which I'm saying that no name node, and I've used a domain called cluster1. So that's for my testing. So now I have this machine set up and I have set up the host name for it. So Shamis, don't you give a static IP 10.0.23 seems to be DSCP. Yes, so you can have a static IP also, or you can just use this way of doing it under network scripts under ITSC config where you say that on boot basically just use this IP. So Mohammed is saying this is name node, right? So right now this is nothing. We are just saying that we have one machine where we have a CentOS machine, and now we are basically going to install Hadoop on this. So Sanjay is saying from my Windows machine, what do I need to do to SSH from Windows to Linux host? So basically, yeah. So with Mac, it comes with this app called Terminal, and Windows has something called Putty. It's called PUTTY. So you download Putty and then you just type the host name and you just SSH to that host on port 22. So that would be Putty. So Muhammad is saying name NN1 is name node. Yeah, Muhammad. So NN1 is the name I have used for this machine, and I'm going to make this machine name node. So I called it NN1. Yes. Right. So first thing for Hadoop, what you need is basically have Java. So for Hadoop, you need Java 1.6 and higher. So first, so what you have to do is you have to go like you install CentOS. You have to download Java. So again, you look at that, and then basically you go to Java website and you get you download Java. And what I do is whenever I have to download, I basically go to something like index of Java, and the index of I'll say Java 1.7. So it will basically take me to basically I'm trying to find out a place where I can have an IP of basically a location where I can just directly download the Java. So I can even say JDK, and so basically you basically get the download. So you have to download Java 1.6 and higher. So in my case, I already downloaded it on under my directory. So I got JDK this RPM. So what you do is you can either download it to your host machine and then SCP to this machine, or you can just do something like a wget. So let me try to show you how to do a wget. So what I'm trying to do is find this RPM. So you can go to archives, and this is not right. So this index, right? So what I do is I go here. So this is basically a location where I have this Java. So what I do is I'll say wget, copy this complete path, and I copy the RPM for Java at the end of the path. So basically copy it at this end of the path and do a wget on this complete path. So maybe what we can do is do this thing on this lab one, which is a new machine. So what I can do is go under OPT, do a wget on this. So now since this was a minimal CentOS, so my command might fail with wget not found. So what I'll do is I'll do yum install wget. So whatever thing you need, you can basically install. So you'll see that it will start getting it from start downloading it. So so to download these packages, you need to have wget. So you can just say yes, and wget will be installed. Now you can just type wget on this complete URL, and you will see that it will start downloading this RPM. So that's one way of basically not going to your Mac machine and then try to get it on this machine. So you can just run directly wget on this command line and it will start copying it. So since this is going to take some time, so I already downloaded this RPM here. So next we are going to do is we are going to try to install this Java. So that's the first step you need to have on the system, that Java should be installed. So what I'll do is I'll run something like rpm-ivh. So that's the way to install an RPM. So I'll say, so you can see that it will basically, so I already installed it. So it will say it's already installed, otherwise it will install. And now if I run Java, it will basically have Java in the path. I mean, it won't have in the path, but then you have to basically, now you have Java in your system. So you can basically now say, go under user Java and the version that you installed, and you can go under bin and you can run commands like JPS. This JPS is a command that tells you about Java processes. So Ashok is saying, do I need to have Linux OS to do this? So Ashok, we tried on CentOS, right? So CentOS is a flavor of Linux, which is, so we are using CentOS. So you can use same thing that I'm using. You can use Ubuntu, or you can use Red Hat also. So Ryan says, can you paste the download link into the chat window? Yes. So this is the link. So let me see if I can paste it in the chat window. So let me know if everybody saw this chat download link. But then this could be like any JVM, right? So I'm going with Java 1.7, so you can try this. And Sanjay saying, are these instructions in LMS also? Yes, they're also in LMS. So you can follow them from there also. Great. So now we have Java, and now what we're going to do is that we are going to basically set up our, so now we have to decide on a user that we want to run Hadoop as. So it could be any user, it could be Hadoop user, Hadoop, say your own user ID, it could be John. So we have to make sure that we have basically the user added. So what we'll do is you have to run a Unix command called user add to run. So before that, but if I do ID, so ID is basically identity. So if I do ID, it tells me what ID I am. So basically right now I am root. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another user Hadoop. So in this case, I already have this user. So it basically did not do it. So you can also do like user, let's try this user del Hadoop and try to create it. So now I'm trying to create user Hadoop. So now it is saying that it has create a user Hadoop. So when I do ID Hadoop, I will have a Unix user ID assigned to this user called 502. So that's the user which we are going to use for our Hadoop installation. So I think you may also want to save all these commands in a file. So well, these commands are also available on LMS in documents. So that's why I'm not saving them here, because you can always follow them. And then you will also have my recording. So you can even go through these steps. Um, so these are already present on LMS as a file. So you can refer it from there. So that's the first step. So once you have set this user, so now what you can do is you have to basically set up a password for this user. So you can basically run password Hadoop, and it will basically ask you for the password setup. So I can say type a password, and if it is too simple, it will fail. So so basically you should make sure you have a good password. And now I will basically go to this user sudo su dash Hadoop. So basically what I'm saying is, so actually I don't have to do sudo because I'm already root. Sudo is to basically go as roots, run command as root. So what I'm saying is su dash Hadoop. Su is switch user. So I'm switching user to Hadoop and I'm giving a dash. Basically, dash means that please get the profile of this user Hadoop also. So now basically now I'm as user Hadoop. If I type ID, now I'm user Hadoop. So now first thing that I have to do is I have to make sure that I have Java in my path. So Ryan is saying, should we make lab1.cluster.com as our name node? Yes, we can use that also, but you can see that it is still downloading Java. It's going to take some time. So that's why I've already downloaded all these things here. So I'm basically just trying to show the steps because we want to finish the demo within our class frame, and we want to discuss a lot of other things also. So if you wait for this lab one, it's going to take some time. So that's why I'm doing the same things that you would do on a new VM on this machine where I've already just downloaded the RPMs, and basically I just need Java RPM and I need Hadoop, basically tar file. So once that's done, then we are just going to go with the configuration. So right now we are working on setting up Java. So you have to make sure that Java is in your path. So as you saw that Java was installed here, right? So what I will do is I will go in my bash profile. So I'll do something like dot bash underscore profile, and there I will set up a Java home, which will point to the directory where I just installed Java. And then I will just say path, that path will be bin for that, and that export that path, so that every time when you go, because right now we just install Java, it's there, but if this path is not added, next time will come, then we type Java, it will fail. So basically let me try to just remove this from here. Right, so initially this looks like this, right? So when I go here, I go as user Hadoop, when I type Java, it is still able to find it from the path. But when I try to say uh, JPS, it would not find, right? All the commands that are present under Java bin directory, they will not be available. So Jagadish is saying you're not audible. Are people not able to hear me? Sanjay is saying if it'll help if you open the document with all commands from LMS and have it open side as you are executing them. All right. Okay, so people are able to hear. So Sanjay, okay, let's try to do that. So Sanjay is saying he wants me to open the document and tell us side by side what am I doing. So let's do that. So let's go to edureka.in and go to my courses, and I'm going under, say, installation using CentOS. So I'm going to download this document quickly. I'm going to open this. Right, Hadoop's lab setting. So this is what we are basically following. So Ryan is saying, do we install Hadoop version 1 or 2? Ryan, so yeah, so once I finish Java installation, I'm going to come to Hadoop installation. So yes, so we are going to start with Hadoop 1, and then we're going to discuss Hadoop 2 in our further sessions. So you can see that this is the RPM that we just downloaded, right? So now we have downloaded the RPM for this Java, and now we are basically setting up the Java path. So what I'll do is I will go in my bash profile, and I set up basically a Java home parameter, which points to the directory where I just installed Java, right? And then I'll type my path is equal to include Java home slash bin directory and the existing path. So right now, let's forget about this one. So this is how we basically now we are adding Java path to it, right? So now when we save this file and we type JPS, it will still complain about the same thing because we have changed something in our profile, but we haven't sourced it. So what you have to do is dot bash profile. So this is called sourcing of bash profile. So it will get all the changes that you have done to your bash profile in your environment. And once I do this, now now my environment, my shell environment knows where Java is, and I type JPS, it will work. And if I type Java commands, they will also work. So this is something that we have to do on all the machines. Now my Java version is the path that I just sent, and it works. So now we have Java set up. So next thing is to basically get Hadoop download. So again, this is one dot 1.0 setup. So again, I'll go to the internet and I'll usually again type index of Hadoop. So it will basically take me to this location where I have all the Hadoop basically directories. So you can see that we have these versions here, and all the older releases are available here. So this will basically have everything here, right? So we have starting from Hadoop 0.10, 14, it goes to 0.19, 20, 23, and goes to Hadoop 1.0. So you can see that naming convention is bit started with 0.10. So everything under 0.3, basically less than Hadoop 0.23 is Hadoop 1, and after 0.23 is Hadoop 2 basically. So we are basically going to choose, say, one of the regions. So if we go with via with our LMS, basically, you can see it is talking about 2025. So we'll go to 2025, and we are going to download this tar.gz. So again, we'll go the same way. We'll do a wget on this. So let's go to my session. So this Java is here. So just so that everybody wants to see how to do it. So what I'll do is I'll type rpm-ivh. That will basically install my Java. I don't want to waste time on Java installation because we need to configure Hadoop. So that's why I didn't show it. So because it's just an RPM command, it will install Java. And then again, we will do something like this, and then it will get the Hadoop version. So, so again, I have already downloaded Hadoop on my this machine. So you can see that this is under, I'm as root. So I'll exit out and again go as root from Hadoop user. And I have already downloaded this few versions for our test environment. So so once you do this wget and this is not getting downloaded, so I just have this downloaded version here. So now again, we'll try to basically install Hadoop. So for that, what we will do is we'll try to extract this tar file. So this is tar zz file, right? Which is a tar and a gzip compressed file. So we have to give this option star minus x g uh, sorry, z v f. So x means extract, z means it's a compressed file, v means give verbose output, and f is like I'm giving the file options. And the file that I want to uncompress is Hadoop 020. So basically, I'll give the complete path. I'll say root Hadoop 020.205.0tar.gz, and then I can give the directory where I want to basically untar it. So in my case, I want to run everything as Hadoop user, so I'm going to copy this under the home directory of Hadoop user. So once I do this, basically it is now extracting this tar file under the home directory of Hadoop user. So now this is extracted there. So now again, I will go back to my directory and I'm in my home directory. And if I see, I should have this directory here. If I do ls-ltr, let me remove this link for the time being because we want to start fresh. So that is from my previous class. So once you extract, you will have something like Hadoop 020.205.s. So if we do go into this directory, what we will see is we'll have all the Hadoop jar files. We have conf directory. We have basically lib directory. So if I go under lib, I will see libraries, the jar files that Hadoop needs. And then I go under conf, I have the conf files that Hadoop needs. So there was a question, somebody, that how do jar files basically come. So basically now when you have installed Hadoop, so these libraries are the libraries which have the Hadoop libraries, and these are the libraries that are going to be used. So there is a one library for fair scheduler, there are common tools, common CLI. So all these are the basically jar, or basically which are library files which are coming as part of Hadoop installation. And now like we did the Java path, we have to do the same thing for Hadoop also, because if I type Hadoop now, it will say command not find, because my Hadoop is under home Hadoop, Hadoop 020, and then bin directory, and then Hadoop is there. So once I do this, my Hadoop command succeeds. So what I have to do is I have to type this Hadoop home also in the path environment. So now as you can see that this is a version, right? Hadoop 020. And then when you install next version of Hadoop, this will change. So how usually people do is they make a soft link to the current version that they are having. So what I will do is we'll do ln dash s, which is a soft link, and I'll say make a soft link of to Hadoop 020, and the name of the link is Hadoop. So now if I do ls-ltr, so now I have a soft link which is pointing to my Hadoop current installation that I have. And anytime I install a new version of Hadoop, what I'll do is I'll just remove this link rm Hadoop. So when I say rm Hadoop, it's not going to delete this directly because it is just pointing to it, right? So it will, it's a 18-byte pointer. When I do rm Hadoop, you will see that just this Hadoop link is gone. And when I get the new um, basically release of Hadoop, I'll download it and then I'll just create the link to that new version of the same Hadoop, because then you don't have to change your system utilities, all the programs that you are there. So you don't have to, when you get a new version of Hadoop, you don't have to change 020 to 21 in all the different programs. You will just say home Hadoop, and that will basically point to the latest version of Hadoop. So now what I can do is, previously I was, for going to Hadoop, I was typing this big command, right? So now I can just say home Hadoop Hadoop bin Hadoop. So now it's easier for me because I don't have to remember that big version numbering that Hadoop has used. And now again, like Java path, I will also add this path in my bash profile, because I don't want to type this whole thing again. I just want to type Hadoop. And once this whole path is in my environment, then shell will know that when I'm typing Hadoop, it needs to look into my profile and my path variable. And if there's any path where Hadoop is, it will automatically find it from there. And I don't have to type this complete big name. So like I said, Java. So in this path variable, I'll just add another thing for Hadoop. I'll say that in my path in, so just include all the Hadoop binary path also in your path variable, so that when I have to use Hadoop, I don't have to type big name. Now I'll just type Hadoop and it will work. So again, it won't work till the time I don't source this profile. So I have to do a sourcing of this. So once I do this, now I type Hadoop, it will work. I don't have to type this big name. So now basically we have set up the paths, and Hadoop and Java are now available in our path. So Sumati has a question. When you have a chance, can you please show where is yesterday's recording? So the yesterday's recording should be under the LMS for your um, account. So basically, Sumati, you will log in and you go under my courses, and then there'll be LMS, right? So in LMS, if you go under module 1, you will have class 1 recording. So that's where you should have your recording as well as presentation. And this is where I also got this document downloaded right now. So this is where you should have it. All right. So now basically we have our Hadoop setup. So now what we will do is, now we will start configuring Hadoop. So we set the path, we have the bash profile. And now if I go back to my deck, you can see we have something called standalone mode, right? In standalone mode, what we have is what we have right now. We have JVM running, we have Java running, we have a Hadoop installed, and now I do Hadoop. I can basically run Hadoop commands. So I'll say Hadoop fsls. It will just give me the listing of my current directory. If say root, it will run root. So now basically I'm not actually running any Hadoop daemon. I have not started name node. I have not started data node. I have not started job tracker. I'm just installed basic Hadoop. And this mode is called basically standalone mode. In which, in case we are not running anything, you are just basically just installed Hadoop and you are trying to basically use this for development. So in this case, what would happen is some developer or somebody who is making some MapReduce program, they will use this kind of environment to write basically a file and try to basically run Hadoop commands on that. So usually this won't be used by an administrator ever, because there's no basic use of it. It's mostly for like developing some programs or basically trying to test some programs. So because it has no file system, it can only basically just run Hadoop commands, basic Hadoop commands.